The thing that is interesting about the phrase magic realism is that when it's used, people tend only to hear the word magic. So they think it's just about fantasy. But the word realism is as important. And what this kind of writing tries to do is to be grounded in the real, to be grounded in an actual, quite strong vision of the real, and then use techniques to express that vision which don't necessarily have to be realistic.
First, there's a structure, which was brought by the colonizers. And then there's the magic that comes from the indigenous tribes and adds up to that mixture. Magic has always been the aspect that explains the absurdity of beliefs, behaviors, and actions, while the structure comes from copying other cultures, which nowadays could be imposed as social media and the way technology shapes the world virtually into a more Americanized form of culture.
A, it's set in an otherwise contemporary setting, so the world, except for this one little bit of magical realism, looks like our lives. And B, the magic is normalized within the context, so the magic doesn't seem weird to everybody else, only really to the reader.
A group of writers who used techniques which diverged from straightforward naturalistic writing. They used elements of fantasy and dream and included those in the text of the story as if they had the same status as observable facts.
These writers focused on the absurdity and magic that lies within our Latin culture. They wrote stories which are all fascinating and irrational, stories that could actually happen to people. These stories capture the melancholy, the abstract, and the delusional state of one's mind, showing that Latin American culture encompasses unique types of problems from the ashes of colonization, distinguishing itself by the unbelievable and sometimes horrific stories that are now normalized. Throughout the absurdity of history, we can find that culture has been shaped by the things that happen. It was a form of transforming emotion of pain into the catharsis of the soul through art. These artists have shaped their minds into a state where abnormal situations start to become more normal than what they actually are. A problem enters one's mind and shapes within it to come out as a creation. When Garcia Marquez spoke about returning to Colombia after living abroad, he mentioned the most important idea that all artists have to take into account is that culture needs to be embraced, not denied. One must understand their origins, or as Albert Camus once said, accept your history. If you're willing to make your stories around your setting, and what you have, and what actual things happen, which you could then express, then you're not just going to find a more natural film or story, but you will also find what to talk about. And the truth that lays there, it will be, in fact, something that you could see with your bare eyes.
By including elements of the fantastic, elements of fable, or mythological elements, or fairy tale, just pure make-believe, you can actually start getting at the truth in a different way. It's another door into the truth.